I'll never understand this Naruto, Sasuke Uchiha. For those following me, you know I'm not the biggest fan of the little Uchiha, but for those who don't know, surprisingly, I used to be a fan of his in the original series. And it's undeniable to say that in the original series, he was way cooler than in Shippuden. There's just no comparison. If you look at the original series, he was strong compared to the other genin, of course. In pretty much every fight, or at least most of the fights in the original series, he does well or even wins. In that first mission during the Chunin exams, he does really well. He's awesome against the two Chunin who go up against him. He holds his own against Haku and only loses because he tries to protect Naruto. He just keeps rising in everyone's estimation. In fact, when that scene happened, when it looked like he died at the beginning of the anime against Haku, I said I was going to stop watching the anime because he died. I liked the character so much that I didn't want to watch the anime anymore because I thought he had died, and a little while later I found an old DVD, one of those old DVDs people used to burn stuff on, and it had a clip of the Naruto vs Sasuke fight at the Valley of the End. So, when I was watching SBT, the Valley of the End fight had already aired, but I didn't know that. Then I saw the Valley of the End fight. There was a clip with some music playing in the background, and I saw that Sasuke was alive. I was like, damn. I celebrated like crazy. That's when I decided to watch the anime again, otherwise I would have quit. At least I had decided to stop if he had died. The anime goes on, then comes the Chunin exam and he does well too. He gets beaten up at first by Rock Lee, but Rock Lee is also a badass. Then he bounces back, does well in the second round, does well in the third round, and then comes the fight with Gaara. He puts on a show, at least at the start of the fight. We all know that later, when Gaara really unleashes his power, poor Sasuke doesn't even stand a chance, and Naruto has to come in and save the day, right? But overall, he does well. He really does. But the jealousy, because Sasuke is super jealous of little Naruto, right? His stubbornness and his inner angsty emo side kept him from being a decent character. Just imagine if Sasuke had stayed in Konoha, he would have been trained by freaking Kakashi. Man, why would the guy... Okay, Orochimaru is badass, but the guy trades Kakashi for Orochimaru's creepy lair just to be hunted down and labeled a criminal. He would have been way more badass than he ended up being in Shippuden with the lightning, because Kakashi was a lightning specialist. He would have been way more badass with the Sharingan than he was in Shippuden too, because Kakashi was a freaking Sharingan specialist. Literally every skill he developed, Kakashi was already a beast at. And then we get to Shippuden, and what really gets me about this angsty emo is his arrogance. Dude, there's nothing wrong with being arrogant. There's nothing wrong with having an arrogant character. The problem is when you're arrogant and you're still a loser. If you were arrogant like Zaraki Kenpachi, it'd be fine because you're actually badass. Zaraki even puts bells on so people know where he's going. Otherwise, it's not fun. People wouldn't even see him move. Zaraki wears an eye patch to suppress 90% of his power, because otherwise the fights wouldn't be any fun either. He doesn't even use both hands, only one just to make it interesting. The guy didn't have Shirkai or Benkai, it was all just brute force. Then comes Sasuke. Oh, I'm the best in the universe, but all he does is get beat up. Is there a problem with getting beat up? There's no problem with getting beat up. The problem is getting beat up while thinking you're the best. Come to think of it, I can't remember a single fight that Sasuke actually won. I mean, sure, he won. He pulled it off. Actually, there was one against Danzo, right? But Danzo was a letdown too. I thought Danzo would be a little stronger. But honestly, in every other fight, except for that terrible ending, you know, the one against Hadaya, in every other fight, he either should have lost or he lost badly. Against Deidara, everyone knows that was the biggest cheat ever, right? If there were a World Cup, it would be like the one Maradona won with his hands, because at the end there he didn't have a drop of chakra left, but somehow he managed to summon a damn snake and escape from Deidara's craziest explosion. Then comes the fight against Itachi, and there's really nothing to say about that one, right? Itachi was just playing around with his little brother, and in the end, he died because he couldn't take the trauma anymore of having lived through killing his own family. Then, after the unlucky guy finds out that his brother was actually a good guy, did all of that so he could become a hero. Then he's like, I want to rebel. What am I going to get? I'm going to go after the 8 tails. The guy told me to get the 8 tails, so I'm going to get the 8 tails. Who are you going to get, you fool? He goes there to face Killer Bee, and honestly, the first time I was watching, I looked and thought, man, this guy is really out of options now, huh? Sasuke and his team showed up there. The guys on his team were kind of weak, right? But still, it was him and a whole gang. And there's that too, because the guy doesn't even have the guts to face the other one alone, right? What a loser. But no, the fight starts and it's just beatdown after beatdown. He uses the Sharingan and still gets beat. Man, honestly, if it wasn't for that girl there healing him and the others giving him support, he would have been done for, out of the game, 2 or 3 times against Tillerby. And that was with full power, you know. He wasn't just using a little bit of his power, he was at 100%. He faces Danzo, manages to kill the old man, who was a huge letdown. I thought the old guy was going to be way stronger. And after using his Menjikyu 3 or 4 times in the anime, the Dai is almost blind. Itachi, man, used the Menjikyu practically his whole life. He was using Tsukuyomi, Amaterasu, all that stuff almost every day, and the worst Itachi ever got was a migraine. Sasuke used it 2 or 3 times and his eye looked like a waterfall of blood. Man, after he fights Danzo, when Kakashi's group shows up and all, the Dai could barely see anything. It was like he was just seeing shadows, just like me trying to look at things. So, in conclusion, Sasuke was cool in the original series and turned into a loser in Shippuden, thinking he was God and just getting beat up by everyone. But what about you? What do you think? Do you disagree with me? Do you think Sasuke was cool, that he was cool in Shippuden? You're not out there if you think that. But leave your thoughts in the comments. I want to see them and I'll reply to you guys too. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel to help us finally monetize this thing. Thanks, everyone.